I've seen the pictures of Nico doing push-ups. Tennessee's 5-star quarterback is on campus, Nico Iamaleava, and he seems to be everything that Tennessee fans could want for now. So I want to ask you this question because I was just on the flight back from being out of town, and I'll put this on my Twitter page. We can make it today's tough question if Amanda approves, but I just put it simply this: what are your immediate expectations of Nico? So I'd start the opener. I'd start later in 2024. And that should be just learn in the first year. So it would be start later in 2023. My apologies. So let's just go ahead and reset this. How about that, Amanda? I shouldn't be doing poll questions without you. Absolutely not.
Okay.
But do you see the direction I'm going here?
Yeah. So I'd say, what are your expectations of Nico? And then we could say immediately starts, or starts in 2024, I guess, or starts midway 2023. I don't like the video of him doing the push-ups, though.
Why?
I don't, because I think it's kind of a humiliating thing that you have this quarterback in here, and he's rumored to have a huge NIL deal, and the first thing you do is, oh, Nico's here and he stepped on the tee, let me video him doing push-ups. Like, I feel like this, I don't know, I mean, it's just me, but I feel like if I'm Nico, I'm like, I mean, I don't mind doing the push-ups. Did you have to blast it everywhere?
I don't know if that was UT that blasted it. Perhaps he blasted it to be viewed as one of the team.
I don't think it was him. I think it was a coach.
I don't have a problem with the push-ups if that's part of the initiation. I think it's probably good for him to do that.
That's fine. Just don't blast it all over social media and like embarrass the kid.
Had good form, elbows in. I was pretty impressed. Push from the chest. Caleb, your thoughts on Nico doing push-ups?
Yeah, I didn't mind it as much. I mean, I got to be honest with you guys. This seemed like a dig at Jeremy Banks more than anything else, because we know about those rumors of him not doing the push-ups.
That's what I thought of, to be real.
Yeah, it seemed like a massive dig at Jeremy Banks, and it basically being like, this guy's not going to cost us a shot at the college football playoff. And
so Smoky Mountain Red said have him do more leg presses instead. That's true. The guy does still look light. Daniel agrees with Caleb. Daniel says, I think it breaks through the idea that he's above certain things just because he's that guy. Yeah, and he was smiling, and he did it. How many push-ups do you think that he could do on demand? Like if he got $1,000 of push-up?
I'd say 50, because I mean, I think he could go as long as he wanted to, because he's got nothing pushing up. Like he's it's not like he has. I know he doesn't have a lot of muscle, but he also doesn't have a lot of mass. So it's not like he's pushing up a lot.
Now hit that like button, and that way we can be a part of your day-to-day. We're here at 8:30 Eastern each and every day with Caleb Calhoun and Amanda LaFratta. I'm Dave Hooker. I didn't have a problem with the push-ups because he was smiling and it was a good thing. But we have seen some of these, if there's a hazing thing, we have seen them go awry where it could start a fit. And we have seen this locker room go awry as we did before South Carolina. So, yeah, I think you just want him brought in. So what's our today's tough question? I'll go ahead and play the element and tell you who it's brought to today. Today's tough question is brought to you by our friends at Guardian Investments. I'll tell you more. Today's tough question is now.
We do our research. Have you done your research?
We're working like heck.
Today's tough question. What's the real debate?
You sipping my soupe, Guadalupe?
Exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker and Amanda LaFratta.
You drinking my sake, kimosabi?
Oh my God.
In a world where knowledge is power, education is the battery that makes it run. That's why at Guardian Investment Groups, they make sure that they are able to tell you where your money is going and why. That's a financial strategy, not just do this, do that with your money. They are that awesome. So, Guardian Financial Investment Group, and all you have to do is go to giaplantoday.com, giaplantoday.com. And with all this video conferencing we have, which you see right here, that means that giaplantoday.com can hook you up, and you don't even have to be in the same town. They're all over down in Florida and Tennessee, and they'll take care of you. So, Amanda, how are we phrasing this, since I did a very poor job yesterday on the flying?
All right. So I said today's tough question. What are your expectations of Nico? Your first choice is that he plays in the Orange Bowl. Second is that he starts the 2023 season. Third is starts halfway through the 23 season. And the fourth is he sits until 2024.
Okay, so I'm a recruiting guy, right? I covered it a number of years. I'm supposed to sit back and tell you how 50% of the recruits will flame out. And if you go back and look at it statistically, that's it. Any school, 50% tend to flame out, 50% tend to be good. Very few have immediate impacts, usually about 4 to 6. I'm going to tell you, I think he starts day one of the 2023 season. And here's why I think that, for a couple of different reasons. Travis said he sits till 2024 unless emergency, but here's why I think that he will start the 2023 season. And can you guys give me a little bit of leeway on this? So, like, if they run Joe Milton out there, injuries aside from this entire discussion, but if they run Joe Milton out there and they don't like what they got and he's starting by week 2 or week 3, that kind of counts. Can I get that much wiggle? Just a little. You're not giving me that wiggle?
You would be the halfway through then.
Okay. So then if I have to choose, I will say starts at the beginning of the season. And here's why, Caleb. You got a guy in Joe Milton that got ready in an off season. He didn't prove to be ready. You got a guy in this guy named Hendon Hooker, who had a pretty good year, if you didn't hear. He basically had an off season as, air quotes, the starter. I don't think this offense is that complicated. I think that it's a simple read on the safety. I think there's every reason that Nico Iamaleava can be ready by the opener, or I'm going to hedge a little bit, by at least September. I think that's very possible and very doable, especially with the fact that he's on campus right now. Your thoughts?
So before I give my thoughts, should we not have an option of never starts? I'm just saying, should we not throw out the possibility that he never ends up starting at Tennessee?
Could he be a total bust? Yeah, I mean that's a possibility.
So I don't think that's going to happen. I will say, I'm sorry.
I already sent it, so I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I don't think anybody would vote that anyway. I mean,
yeah, no, that's true.
Nobody's going to vote that.
So, Amanda and I talked about this last week. I would say I think he probably should start in 2023. But, Dave, I know we debated it before because you talk about the difference between practice players and in-game players, and I get that. I don't see that as an excuse for how Heupel decided to start Milton over Hendon Hooker last year. I think Josh Heupel has a personal bias to Joe Milton. I do. Very similar to how the coaches in 2005 had a bias to Eric Ames when Rick Carlson was clearly the better quarterback. I think Josh Heupel has a personal affinity for Milton. Remember, he recruited Milton when he was offensive coordinator at Missouri. Then Milton was the first guy he signed as a transfer when he was at Tennessee, started Milton. These accuracy issues, I'm sorry, I refuse to believe that you can't see those in practice. And so I think Heupel has a bias to Milton, and I think that's going to say
why.
I don't know. I think because he's been recruiting him for so long. Heupel's been recruiting Milton since 2016. So
are you asking why he has a bias towards him, or like why would he have a bias towards him? Like, what are the reasons, or why does Caleb think he has a bias towards him?
Why does he have a bias? Why does Caleb think he has a bias towards him? I thought the quickest answer would just be the guy looks like he was, carved from gods to be a quarterback. Physically, I thought that's where you might go. But why do you think he has an affinity for Milton?
Well, yeah, I think that's part of it. I think he's been recruiting Milton for so long, again, since 2016. I think we know Josh Heupel's first breakout quarterback as a coordinator was Drew Lock, where Drew Lock and Milton share similarities. They both have gigantic arms. And so I think Heupel prefers Hendon Hooker is not really the type of quarterback Heupel seems to prefer usually. It seems like he usually prefers the quarterback with a huge cannon for an arm, accurate or not. But Milton is so inaccurate. But I think Josh Heupel keeps looking past that, honestly. And I think to his own undoing, he's going to stick with Milton. So I'm going to say halfway through 2023. I think it's more likely Nico starts some point in 2023, but in the second half of 2023.
So are you telling me that Joe Milton essentially has to get the job and lose the job?
Yes. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I think he's saying he has it already.
I think he has it already.
Amanda, do you think that he has to lose the job, or could there be pressure from the outside to play Nico, and could he be that good where he takes the job? There's a difference between losing a job and someone taking a job. I think we'd all agree with that.
Correct. I think there is a difference between losing it and someone taking it. I mean, look at Jalen Hurts and Tua. Jalen Hurts didn't lose the job. Tua took it from him. So I could see Joe Milton, I think, is going to lose it because I think we've seen him lose it before. I think Hendon Hooker came in just killing it. I think Joe Milton dropped the ball and you had to make a change. Now we've seen Heupel have pressure from, it looks like, the administration or outside or boosters, whatever, to make certain changes or to uphold certain suspensions, like Jalen McCullough. It seemed like Josh Heupel kind of trended that way when that happened. It wasn't really, it didn't seem like it was in Heupel's hands as to whether McCullough was able to play or not. I think that was an administration decision. I think that there's a little bit of that at Tennessee. So whether or not Joe Milton is Heupel's guy, I think he's going to try to stick with him as long as he possibly can. And I think that whether it's Nico or someone else, by halfway point of 2023, we're going to see a different quarterback under center.
I think it could be. I think it could be a situation. This would be great for Tennessee, where Joe Milton plays fine. Fine's not great. Fine's not even good. And then you have a Trevor Lawrence situation brewing on Tennessee's sideline. And that is, wow, that other guy is really, really good. Remember, Trevor Lawrence, they weren't going to wait for him. They eventually played him, and some said too late. Who did he replace there, Caleb? Who was that?
Kelly Bryant, who ended up ironically going to Missouri to play for Derek Dooley as offensive coordinator a year later.
Right. So that wasn't a case where Bryant made a huge decision or a huge mistake or had a terrible game. That probably happened this past year with DJ Ajugulande. But that didn't happen with him. It was eventually Trevor's got to play. Trevor's got to play. I think that's the way it'll go down with Nico. I think Joe Milton will be okay enough to be a middle of the pack. And I agree, he has terrible accuracy issues, but I've seen that fixed with Hendon Hooker. I don't think it's something you absolutely have to have with this offense. And I think that Tennessee will be okay with Joe Milton, but okay, he's not going to be good enough to beat Tennessee got really fortunate in the Alabama and Florida games. They were better than Florida, but they almost let a slip up happen there. They beat Alabama on a last-second field goal that snudged over. I mean, they're going to have to be better to beat those types of teams this upcoming season, not even to mention Georgia. So I think at some point during the middle of the season, the coach is going to look around the room and say, got a better chance with this Nico kid.